Moving right along with the rest of the show, as you guys can see now on your screen, jumping right into some more rankings, this time in the NFC West, still sticking to the running backs and how they all shape out in this division, and talking about the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Rams, and the Cardinals. Very interesting division. It might seem a little top heavy, but there are some very good prospects in this running back group along this division. So with that being said, we're going to start off with the number 4 ranked team on my list. That would be the Seattle Seahawks. You know, they have Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet as their main two guys. And that being said, two guys that are pretty relatively young. Kenneth Walker in his second year. Zach Charbonnet just finished his rookie season. So they have still more room to grow, is what I'm trying to get at. But this past year wasn't the best for them as a group. And as for the Seahawks as a group as well, they finished bottom 5 as a team in yards per game and total rushing yards in the NFL. Slight down year also for Kenneth Walker. After reaching 1,000 yards as a rookie, he slightly missed that mark this year, dealt with a few injuries towards the middle and towards the end of the year, so there was that. Also, the offensive line last year again wasn't the best. There was a lot of moving pieces and a lot of shifting among that offensive line, so that obviously doesn't help. And you have Zach Charbonnet, who is still trying to find his way around the NFL. It's his first time really playing in these atmospheres and these games, and not the most ideal of conditions. So for him to put up 462 yards and only 1 touchdown, it might not seem too impressive, but again, you have to take it with a grain of salt. And in terms of being involved in the passing game, I'd like to see a little bit more out of them. I think it would help out this offense a lot more if they look their way. A lot of times I feel like Geno Smith holds the ball a little bit too much, and that way they get sacked, the play breaks down, and you really run out of options that way. If they have some more designed dump offs and just get Kenneth Walker and maybe Zach Charbonnet involved a little bit more, making the passes and reads a lot easier for Geno Smith, it could make this whole offense run a lot smoother. But for right now, I think they're still a little too young, really not in the groove of it too much. They have a new head coach now in Mike McDonald coming in, so how does that change everything? They have a few things to work out and get their ducks in line, so that way, and that is the reason why they fall to the number 4 spot in my power rankings. And then at the number 3 spot, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Pretty surprising when I was looking up the information for these rankings. I didn't think the Cardinals did as well as they did last year. They finished 4th in the NFL in rushing yards per game at about 139, and also 4th in the NFL in total rushing yards at 2,365. And also James Conner had probably the best year of his career, finishing 6th in total yards at just over 1,000. Among the league leaders in average yards per run, averaging about 5 yards per carry as well last year. One of his most healthiest seasons, and that way he produced one of his better ones. His first 1,000-yard rushing year for James Conner in that system for the Arizona Cardinals. And then you have the man on your right, the rookie Trey Benson out of Florida State University. He's coming in now as a rookie, and James Conner last year was seen as, this bell cow. He was always in there. One of his healthier seasons, so that really proved to be a great benefit for the Arizona Cardinals to know that your lead back can always be there and will give you a good production every time you hand the ball off to him. But now you don't have to do that as much, especially with how the career length for running backs sort of pans out. James Conner is approaching 29 or 30 years old, I want to say, and is entering a contract year. So for the Cardinals, you do get a chance to see what Trey Benson can offer you if you decide to move on from James Conner and maybe not give him a deal. You still have a good running back in Trey Benson. So this year will prove to be a very interesting one to see what Trey Benson can give you right out of the gate, sitting behind James Conner a little bit and complimenting him as well. Maybe it proves out to be better than expected, and you keep both of them, and now you have a great running back duo for the next few years. But I like what the Cardinals are doing. Rather than just running James Conner into the ground, you do get a chance to see Trey Benson, but also compliment James Conner. Getting these guys involved in the passing game is something else that I think is crucial, but with them Trey Benson coming in, you have James Conner, and you add Marvin Harrison, you're starting to piece this offense together a little bit more, whereas last year, I think there wasn't too many options to give the ball to, so now it's starting to become a little bit more balanced, and I think this team's identity really is running the ball. I think that's how you get Kyler Murray going. You start involving him in the running game as well, and also now you have Marvin Harrison Jr. I think really identifying themselves with the run is the way to go, and now they could double their production with two very capable running backs. So I like what the Cardinals are doing, but they're not doing enough to get to the number 2 spot, which is held by the Los Angeles Rams. Blake Corum and Kyren Williams are the two guys you see on your screen. Basically, if you look at the numbers a little bit sideways, you squint, and if they both had their helmet on, you would think it's the exact same running back. Honestly, they are very similar in stature and build, and also the way that they run it a little bit. I would say Blake Corum is a bit more harsh and a little bit more in your face and just running right into you, whereas Kyren Williams is a little bit more finesse, a little bit harder and more elusive to get on the ground, but virtually the same build. And it's funny that they have the same numbers, so it's really going to be hard to tell them apart on Sundays. But regardless of that, without Blake Corum last year and just Kyren Williams, it was really a breakout year for him. He finished third in the NFL in total yards, tallying 1,144, and also tied for fourth in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns in the NFL with 12. This is going to be Kyren Williams' third year now, and coming off of a great second year, you saw that massive leap from his rookie season. It gets all of these Los Angeles Rams fans very excited to see what could happen in 2024. What more can Kyren Williams do? Because he is still very young, obviously, heading into his third year. How much better can he be in this offense now, especially where you can get him a guy in Blake Corum who can come in when Kyren Williams is tired, could be nursing an injury. You bring in Blake Corum, and I really liked Blake Corum because he's coming from a system in Michigan, an offense in Michigan under Jim Harbaugh, where it is very professional. Jim Harbaugh, meaning he has that NFL experience. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ran his college program like that, especially knowing he has some of the best talent in college football, knowing that most of them are going to go to the NFL. Why not run the program like that? So Blake Corum already, it doesn't surprise me all the praises he's getting early in this offseason process of the NFL and really acclimating himself to the team. He still has a way to go. I'm not going to say he's going to come in and surprise a lot of people. He could, but right now you can't truly tell. But Blake Corum comes from a system where he was the lead guy. Now he can relinquish some of that, obviously, to Kyren Williams. And you have a two-headed monster there that I think is just going to be the word that pops up in my mind when I think of these two is just relentless. Relentlessly just going at you, running the ball 6 to 8 times per drive, because I think both of them are capable of doing it. And compared to Seattle and the Arizona Cardinals, I think these two guys can address and can add more to the passing game than the Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. Plus, you have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, just giving these guys more room to run. I really like what the Rams are doing. They kept their offensive line together for the most part. So I'm really excited to see what they can do in 2024 and just build on a very young and exciting team that sort of made its presence known in 2023. But again, very good, very impressive, but obviously not the number one team in my running back rankings. That obviously falls to the 49ers, led by Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, arguably the best player overall in the NFL last year, probably had a better chance at MVP, in my opinion, than many people want to give him credit for. But, the numbers speak for themselves. First in total rushing yards, almost 1,500. Second in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns at 14. And second in yards per game, averaging 91 yards per game, behind a San Francisco offense that was just high-powered to the fullest of extent. And then you have Elijah Mitchell behind them, who does provide a good number 2 option for the San Francisco 49ers. And then the guy all the way to the right is Isaac Guerendo, the rookie from Louisville, who they just drafted this year. Not too many people know about him, but I think he could be a valuable asset for the 49ers because people already know the 49ers want to run the ball, right? You have Christian McCaffrey, why not give him and use him to the best of his abilities? But now, adding Isaac Guerrero, not to just skip over Elijah Mitchell, but he also was dealing with some injuries last year, so you might be a little bit iffy on if he could really handle a workload that you would want to see out of your number two back. Instead of giving him a lot of reps as the only capable option behind Christian McCaffrey, now you could split those carries up a little bit more and include Isaac Guerrero in there. His speed is off the charts the way he runs. If you saw some of his clips in Louisville, again, just another guy that's relentless, punishes defenders trying to tackle him, and he could add a lot. He's gotten some praises already throughout this offseason program. Still, again, has a long way to go, but I think it wouldn't be too crazy for the 49ers to give Christian McCaffrey a bit more rest and maybe not hand it off to him as many times as you'd like. Of course, you still want to use him, but I think last year served as a good lesson to maybe not overdo it. Of course, you're excited to use him. He is one of the best players in the NFL just in general, but you saw last year where he really came in and out of that game against the Washington Commanders, so he was dealing with that calf injury, and also it started to flare up a little bit more in the playoffs. You don't want Christian McCaffrey at 70-80% in the playoffs when it really does matter. Splitting up the carries a bit more with these two other guys I think will benefit it a lot more. They have the options to do it. Christian McCaffrey adds a lot more also in the passing game as well. So you have a lot of things you could do with this running back group, and I'm very excited to see them. I have a comment here from my boy Eric. Shout out to Eric for commenting. How effective is Kyle Juszczyk in this 49ers running game? He's like an ace in the hole in the backfield. Yeah, I could have very much added him in this picture. I probably should have, in all honesty, because Kyle Juszczyk, again, is a guy that a lot of people forget, like I obviously did in these rankings, but he's a massive piece to them, not just in the running game. I guess you could classify him as a running back, but like you said, an ace in the hole, that Swiss Army knife for the 49ers. He could get the ball from the backfield. You could hand it off to him. You could throw it to him, line him up in the slot, line him up as a tight end. He's another great asset that this 49ers team has at its disposal. You take all these three guys, you add in Juszczyk, Debo, George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, who they drafted this year. All in all, this offense is really just stacked with offensive talent. And in terms of running backs, adding Juszczyk also to the mix, they are very potent at this position, and I expect Christian McCaffrey not to get as many touches, but still be a very capable and productive part of this offense in 2024. But that is my list. That is how it all shapes out. Shout out to Eric for reminding me of Kyle Juszczyk as well. But let me know what you guys think of it, the order, and who I included for these running back groups. If you guys think I got the order wrong or if I missed out on someone, please let me know. But with that being said, we will go to a next break, and when we return, we're going to talk more about minicamp, who made an appearance, who is still missing, and why that is. We're going to go through some of the more prominent names on that list and what it means for these teams heading now into training camp in just a few weeks. So don't go anywhere. More on the GSMC Chip Shot Football podcast when we return.